We have Dr Ian Malabar, the programme leader for the maths department. As far as John Moores maths goes, we're starting off with the top.
You lose your learning environment, like you said. That's what you lose. You lose that relationship with the students. The students lose that relationship with each other, because now, in the past, students would come in, they'd spend the day in uni, so they'd come in, they'd do their lecture, between lectures, they'd be with their mates, they'd go for lunch, or they'd go to the library, go for a coffee, go to their next class, they'd spend the day there. Whereas now they go in, do the lecture, go home again. There's no feel of a learning community.
Yeah,
and that's between the staff as well, you see, because a lot of staff work from home. You've lost that camaraderie, you've lost that feeling of a maths department.
I think that's...
You don't have it anymore.
Hello, welcome back, episode 6 of the Empty Space in Between podcast.
Ian's already laughing at us.
So what I think one thing for the visual, what are they called? People take it in visually, the podcast. I think they'll spot a very obvious difference. There's the third head.
Hello.
There is a shadow in the corner.
Yeah, there's a shadow in the corner. So as we said initially, we wanted to get some cool guests on. That was one of the aims of the podcast, and I think we're starting off with a good one. So to my left, we have the wonderful...
Starting off at the top, in my opinion.
Starting off, well...
Downhill from here.
As far as John Moores maths goes, we're starting off with the top.
The cream of the crop.
Brought me Al fella in.
This is me granddad.
So to my left,
Granddad Ian.
We have Dr Ian Malabar, the programme leader for the maths department,
Yeah.
or the maths... Is it the maths department or just the maths
Well, not
course?
department now, we're a school, but we were Department of Applied Maths. We're now School of Computer Science and Maths, so, yeah.
But doesn't that change, like, every couple of years?
Well, people come in with different ideas, so, yeah.
Some people want them
in,
separate.
They want smaller departments, then you go back to bigger schools, then it gets split up again, it's just whatever's the flavour of the month, like.
Yeah, last year it was called the Department of Art and Drama.
Yeah. Ian was doing musical theatre.
Yeah. Just do whatever it was.
Singing about
So what is your
intervals.
official title at the moment?
Yeah.
Just mathematics programme leader, so just
at John Moores. You pretty much run the maths course at John Moores, don't you?
Yeah, basically manage the staff and manage all the teaching on the maths degrees.
Oversee the modules, oversee what people are teaching, how it's going.
So we've known, me and Sam, as we said in an earlier episode, we did John Moores from start to finish. Well, I'm John Moores' lifer. He fucked off to Red Brick, the knobhead. So we've been au fait with Ian Malabar for how many years now?
Too long.
About 8 years, surely.
I first met Ian in foundation year.
Yeah, remember that?
I wanted to do so I'd done a foundation degree. I think I've told everyone before, but at the end of that, you had to go and meet with the program leaders of the courses. You had prospects to go on, so you could go and meet with like electrical engineering, physics, whatever, and we wanted to do maths. So Ian had like this little hour slot where you could go and meet him, and he was sitting in his room waiting for any of these foundation students that were going to come up, and me and Bran, me mate who did the degree with, just rocked up in like FTM gear, and he went who got here?
And the other lad, Ronan,
Franny
was it?
Yeah, another scouser, lived by me. Yeah, remember, that's the first time I met you. Didn't know much about you, but you just was like, listen, it's a good degree. It'll be hard, but it'll be worth it. What have you got? He just said, what have you got in your maths module?
Yeah.
Wasn't worried about anything else. We went, well, we've got this over here. No, what have you got in your maths module? He went, yeah, okay, you'll be sound. He went, you're good enough to do it. You just need to put the work in. And we were like, let's do maths.
So what year was that?
Well, that was when I started as well, so 2018.
18?
No, 15. No, what, 15?
Back dating yourself there, lad. 2015 you started.
Uni?
Yeah.
Fuck off, I didn't know.
So that was the summer
no way.
of 2015, so that would have been towards the end of your first year, and I went to meet with Ian then. So
towards the end of your foundation,
for the year.
Because we're the same age, aren't we? But you did the foundation first.
But I'm slightly stupider, so I did the
Slightly
foundation.
stupider.
I started in 1991.
Wasn't even born.
Steam trains were still knocking about Liverpool at the time.
Horse and carriage up and down here.
Yeah.
Ship and mice had a different name. But yeah, so as we said, we've known Ian a long time. But as we alluded to, we may have guessed someone we're not familiar with. Maybe the first time meeting them. So what we've done is we've devised a series of questions that we're going to put together in a little series that we ask all our guests. It's called Breaking the Ice. So this is Breaking the Ice with Dr Ian Malabar. Now the questions, I think Sam will agree, are very highbrow, aren't they, mate?
You curated these hours of work here and went into this.
I can imagine, yeah.
Scientifically went through the data on what questions get to the core of someone. How do you get to know someone? If you ever go on a date with someone for the first time, meet someone on a new job.
We're already on one.
Date now. Yeah, we've already been on loads of dates. This is a hold up.
I've been lied to.
And these questions get to the core of someone, man. At least based on our research.
So the first
you
one,
asked the first one.
The first one, as we said, highbrow this. What's your favourite sarnie?
Oh, favourite sarnie.
The ultimate
sarnie. The ultimate sandwich. What we start with bread. What we talking with first? Are we talking mealy, toasted, white, brown?
I'd normally go white. Occasionally go wholemeal, but normally white.
You're not talking like a barn.
We've seen a lot of his sarnies as well.
Just sliced white.
Yeah, we have, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sliced white, toasted, not toasted.
Not toasted.
Ooh.
So
that's a typical. That is a traditional sarnie. That you've got me so far. What we talking in the middle for filling?
And I'd go
buttered.
Obviously,
Some people don't have butter, lads. Some people put like a bit of
mayo
mayo.
That's you. That you fucking weirdo.
That's one of my pet hates, going for a sandwich anyway and not having butter.
And that's like a bit of mayo on it, because mayo doesn't soak it, does it?
You like that, eating it?
Mayo sits on top.
Can't swallow it.
Top chefs will argue though, like Gordon Ramsay and that will argue, you're sogging the bread out. If you're best using like an aioli or a mayo. Because it keeps the bread crusty.
Fuck Gordon Ramsay, man.
Fuck you, man, if you're fucking Gordon Ramsay.
Nah, they'll come round it. He's down, he's heard his name, he's like appeared like a superhero, he's on a batter.
Go on then.
Filling, sandwich.
I'd go sliced chicken. Lettuce, peppers.
Yeah.
Peppers?
Nando's hot peronaise sauce and Nando's chili jam.
Together?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want the sauce and the chili. It goes well together.
Like, we were talking about this through the week. A cheap, like, shitty slice of wafer chicken.
Oh, yeah,
or are you on about, like,
not
thick?
No, not
cut straight off the
crap.
You mean like a sliced bit of chicken?
Proper cooked chicken.
Like, you can get it out of like Costco in a box. And then cooked peppers, like grilled pepper or a crunchy pepper.
No, crunchy pepper.
Crunchy pepper. Yeah. What colour pepper?
Probably red, only she's sweet.
Probably red.
Well, yellow or orange.
Lad, everyone has a favourite pepper colour. Everyone has a favourite pepper colour.
That sounds like a good sarnie. The only thing I'd do is toast the bread.
I am. You know, speaking of the toasted versus not toasted debate, told you this was highbrowian. You know, Steve Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he texted me the other day after when we did our one.
Yeah.
And he went, "You're a fucking lunatic."
Why?
He went, "It's out of order." He went, He was like, "I'm not being mates with you." He went, "Why?" And he went, "You can't have your best sarnie on toasted bread."
And of course you can't. Every best sarnie's on fucking toast.
That's what I said.
You go to any cafe in this city and you get a club sandwich, it don't come out on cold ass, floppy, looking like it's gonna die bread, man. It comes out on a crusty set, man. It comes out on 2 slices that are crusty and like you get that bite.
It's the way to do it.
But there's something about soft bread at home.
Yeah.
The soft bread at home is decent.
Sometimes toast's right and sometimes bread's right.
Just depends on
so if you have like a tuna sandwich, that's got to be on bread. If you have like a sausage and egg butty, that's got to be on toast.
Yeah.
I like it.
To be fair, that's
not a bad shout.
sandwich.
It's not a bad shout at all. You know what, the Nando's and the chili jam.
What was your sandwich months ago?
Mine was just a standard club sarnie.
And mine was ham and coleslaw.
It's just mental. Ham and
coleslaw is good, man.
Yeah, but if you could pick anything, you're not picking ham and coleslaw.
Oh, my other one was sausage, tomato,
Sorry,
and
can I just put in a sec? Well, you're not vegan anymore now.
Oh no, I was vegan last year, everyone. Do you not know this?
Did you not know he eats meat now?
Yeah, I think I did.
No, I've told it. Last year, guys, I had
I'm just winding you up. You're vegan, then you're not, then you are. Then
I had the worst 18 months of my life. I've to be fair, I went vegan, but I've probably had enough meat before the age of 18 to kill the planet off for good. But I tried to go vegan to be good to the world, to live healthy. And the honest truth is, it just upset your gut.
Do you want to tell you what the biggest piss take about this is? So he fucking...
So was he?
Yeah, so he fucking talked me into it. He was like, veggie, change your life, it's dead good for you, and help the environment. I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go.
That's why I tell you boys this.
Right, so then I did it.
He changed as well.
I changed it. I did for 12 months veggie because he was fucking harping on about it. And then one day he sends me pictures eating fucking fish. I was like, what? And he goes, I've gymed in.
But lads,
I come around to ours thinking of fish and all that.
Yeah. I was like, he was like, like, what have you had for tea?
Smell it,
I was
whoa.
I was like, I've just had something normal, like chicken and chips. Also, I was like, something quick, and he went, oh, well, my dad made a monkfish.
So let's get some backstory to this. Is it the start? It was when lockdown was on, yeah, and it was coming towards the end. And like those restrictions got lifted and that. And Ian was like, anyone want to come to ours for a drink? He messaged us at like 6 o'clock. So I was eating me dinner, and like I'd had fish. And when you're like in the environment of a smelly food, you don't realise you stink of it. Yeah. And I walked out, my dad was like, you know, you're getting changed. I was like, oh, just give us a lift. But he'd had it as well, so he couldn't smell it on me because it was on him. And then as soon as I got into Ian's flat, he just went, whoa, fucking hell, you fucking stink of fish.
And you did hum, to be fair.
Fucking, and I just went like, oh, I'm sorry, but it's just when you're going to have to just live with it.
Right, so that's enough of the sandwich and food chat.
That was a good night, that was.
That was a good night. And I went home at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
with red wine.
I got a photo.
Once we ran out of red wine.
Yeah, so we ran out of beer, then we ran out of red wine, and it was 6 a.m. and I just couldn't see.
I woke up at like 8 bells in the morning. I got off at like midnight or something, woke up at like 8 bells and looked at my phone, and Ryan had sent a photo smiling, saying, should I be worried? And his teeth were just red. Because he brushed his teeth, he couldn't get it off. He was like, I can't get it off me teeth.
I was bladdered at like 6:30 in the morning.
What wine was that?
At first, because I was like that pissed, I looked in the mirror, I got my teeth falling out. Right, second question. This one's a bit more of a thinker, genuinely. Dinner party. Oof. The standard one. Dead or alive, 3 people. Who'd you have?
Oh dear.
Who'd you have?
3 people.
So mine, I went for Bez of the Happy Mondays, Liam Gallagher and Jesus.
You went with a 90s tinge of Catholic.
Jesus is a bit obvious, isn't it? Everyone goes for Jesus, don't they?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go for Jesus.
I said to him, I'm not sure you could even get him because he's not dead or alive. We have no fucking evidence either way. So he's just picking a character out of a fictional book. I could pick Shrek at that fucking level of a
Imagine having Shrek around.
Shrek would be good.
Yeah. Go on then, who we having? Number 1.
I'd have to have Bill Shankly, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd have to have Shanks.
Oh, so for context, Ian Malabar is the biggest scouser I've ever met, Liverpool fan-wise.
Yeah, every other week these are arguing in the chat, calling each other biased arseholes.
So Bill Shankly.
Oh. That's to be someone funny, wouldn't it? Maybe like Tommy Cooper would be a good one.
Tommy Cooper would be
Tommy
class.
Cooper would be good.
So, he's the guy who wears like the
fez.
The top hat.
The top hat.
The top hat like the red hat.
The fez.
Whoa,
showing your age here, Ian.
Yeah,
But Tommy Cooper's class though.
Well, I am, yeah.
Did you hear how he died?
No.
So he had a heart attack on stage and everyone thought it was a bit. So he was just having a heart attack on stage and everyone thought it was part of the act.
He used to do a routine where he had this big cloak on. He'd take things out the cloak, like, you know, plants or something. You think, whoa, what's he doing there? And then they get bigger and bigger, so he'd be taking like ladders out and that because they'd be feeding them through the curtains at the back. And it was like a standard thing he did. And he just like keeled over, so all the audience were laughing their head off, thinking it's part of the show, and he died on stage, like,
What the fuck, imagine just like,
yeah.
At what point you stop laughing and go,
only when the medic that was quite a poignant moment. He died kind of doing what he loved and everyone laughing at him, which is what he did for a living. So
that's quite
that's
nice.
Sick,
that's actually nice.
So we've got Tommy Cooper, Bill Shankly, who's the other?
Probably maybe...
You got to be some musician or something for you.
Yeah, possibly Freddie Mercury, I think, maybe.
Oh, what a shout.
That'd be a good shout.
Ricky Gervais would be good, but yeah. Ricky Gervais or Tommy Cooper for me, comedian one.
And then your music would be...
That's actually a sick
probably
dinner.
Freddie, I think.
That's the best one. So, I mean, we've
only done 3.
But, like, that's sick.
What was mine? Mine was Neil deGrasse Tyson, the scientist,
Bob
Amy
Marley,
Winehouse, and
Bob
Bob
Marley.
Marley.
Yeah,
imagine Ian sitting at a table, man. Bill Shankly, Ian, Freddie Mercury, and Ricky Gervais.
That'd be class.
That would be good.
I'll let you have all 4 there because they're belter shouts.
Right, last one. Shall I ask this one?
Go on then.
And it is... What's the question?
Yes, we put so much effort into this.
Yeah.
So what is the worst job you've ever had?
It, yeah.
But don't say John Moores.
How did I fully forget that then? Just like, what the fuck's the question?
Job?
The worst job you've ever had.
You couldn't wait to get out of it.
Yeah, I was going to say Royal Insurance, because I didn't like that, and that's when I went back to uni, but that's another tale. That's more my life story.
Oh, we'll get there.
Is it the worst job you've had, though?
I worked in Sainsbury's for like half a day. That's the most...
I didn't know that!
Neither did I.
That's the most I could laugh. Well, I only thought about it just then. I was thinking, worst job? I don't think I've ever disliked any jobs. I worked for a removal firm in me summer holidays on my degree. and that was just like the best job ever. That was like hilarious.
You enjoyed that then?
But when did I do that? Before I got that, I must have gone. So like as a summer job, you know when you're off in the summer when you're in uni, I went to get a job in Sainsbury's, and it was like just grim. So I rock up. At the time they had this like brown uniforms on, and they went, "There, lad, there's your kecks and like your top." So I put the kecks on, and they were massive. Like they must have been like, they look like a clown, the biggest kecks you ever seen in your life. And this top was like dead tight, you know, just button. Yeah. It's like they give them the kecks to like Oliver Hardy, and the top are like Stan Laurel. So look now, this top, and like I kept going ping, 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 out and up. And I was like sorting potatoes out, and like it was just like grim. And then they put me on the trolleys in the car park, and the car park was like that, like dead steep. So I'm like that, pushing these trolleys up the car park to the trolley park. And then I must have stopped for like 2 seconds because I'm absolutely fucked at this point. So I'm like, had a little breather, and I just hear this voice: "Stand still any longer there, lad, and you'll turn to stone." I was like, fuck, I'm not doing this any longer. So I just went in.
First bit of rest you had, someone.
I had the rest for about 5 seconds. This voice comes out: "You'll turn to stone, lad, if you stand there and still any longer." I was like,
That's
class.
How old was you here? 18 or
Never started my degree. Well, I started my degree a bit late, so like 23, something like that.
That's class, you know.
Stand there any longer. Off a building site, shout that.
Go
any slower, you'll be stopped.
So I didn't go back the next day, and then got a phone call saying you need to come and pick your pay pack up. It was like the old little brown packets with the catch in.
Yeah.
How old I am, like. And put me pay in, got off. And then got a phone call the next day. "Oh, you need to come and pick your pay up." Sound. So I went in, picked it up again.
Oh, so you got 2 days?
Yeah, next day. Is that it? Yeah, you need to come and pick your pay. So 3 days in a run they pay, so I got triple pay. You obviously fucked up.
Was you just walking in like, nervous?
Thanks very much, bye. So at least I got paid 3 times, I guess. But yeah, but that was
Worst
grim.
job.
That was like
I didn't know that you worked in
Neither did I.
Sainsbury's. And then the
Well,
removal...
it was only a day, so it's kind of...
The removal job sounds funny. Was that just like a bunch of fellas in a van?
Oh, that was just hilarious. That was just dead funny. Just you can imagine load of people who work in a removals place.
Yeah.
We're just like loading and unloading like wagons.
Oh, so it was in like a warehouse you were loading it?
Yeah, it was in there. Mason Removals up in Huyton on like an industrial estate.
Yeah.
So you just load and unload, like, you know, the big containers coming from abroad and all that.
You enjoyed that one then?
Yeah, just people were hilarious. They'd work for like 2 minutes to go, smoke break. So you'd all have a little break and you'd go back. You'd lift like 2 boxes off, smoke, but you just had like breaks all day.
I get that though, because like, when I worked for my dad on building sites, certain sites were better than others. Yeah. And you'd be saying, "Send me to that one."
This was the right laugh.
Can I go to that one? Because you knew
all the
this
people
one here, there's boring people on it. And you get to some sites and everyone's just boring, and you'd end up having to work for 8 hours. You know what I mean? Because you were that bored. But like, if there was a site with some funny characters on, you'd be like, "I'm getting on that one. I'm getting on that one." And you'd be gutted when you get a call and be like, "We need help on blah blah street. Can you come over?" And you'd be thinking, "Who works on that one?" And you go like, "Thing works," and you go, "Ah, fuck off." And you knew you were just going to some boring bastard. You know what I mean?
Nah, it was funny there, like hilarious, like really, really funny. Yeah.
Right. So you indicated then you started your PhD later, right? So talk us through then. So what was Ian Malabar like at school? We'll start off there. What were you like at school?
I was good in school until I got to sixth form. So I went to the Blue Coat in Liverpool, and I was dead good up to probably, I was going to say GCSEs. They weren't back then. They were GCEs, called O levels. And then they combined with CSEs to become what's now GCSEs.
Yeah.
So I did what were the old O levels, which were like ordinary levels and then advanced levels. So they were like O levels back in the day. And I like breezed through all them, got loads. And then by the time I got to sixth form, all I did was play tennis. Because I wanted to be a tennis player, that's all I did. Because my dad was a tennis player, he was a tennis coach all his life. I was like a nationally ranked junior, so I just wanted to be. So throughout my sixth form, I just played tennis, just generally arsed around.
Because you genuinely, that was going to be your career, weren't it? Like you'd switch.
Yeah, but it was like nowhere near dedicated enough because I pissed around too much.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it as a tennis player.
Oh, like you pissed around with tennis too much type thing.
No, I pissed around not doing enough
Oh,
tennis.
right, yeah, no.
What, like you didn't train hard enough,
Yeah.
or you didn't turn up enough?
Yeah.
What, like you weren't turning up for training?
Yeah, I just didn't practice enough, didn't train enough, just wasn't dedicated enough.
What was you doing instead?
Probably just mucking around with my mates and just messing around.
The boozer.
Yeah. No, that's, what you did you? I can't
So I
remember
messed all my A levels up.
Did you say to me though that you went to junior Wimbledon? Did you go to that or?
Yeah, I played junior Wimbledon.
Yeah. That's mad. That.
Done everything.
Yeah.
Well,
So after college, then was that just when? So you just went into work, and that's where you had these series of.
So yeah, I wasn't going to earn enough money playing tennis, so I got a job in Royal Insurance, which I said before, worked there.
Yeah.
And I was there 2.5 years, like hated it and
Shite.
just thought, can't do this the rest of my life, just grim. And that's when I went back to uni.
So what was the draw?
But I had no qualifications at all. I was lucky I was a mature. They took on mature students.
Because they wanted more mature students in.
Yeah, well, they liked... John Moores always... Well, it was Liverpool Polytechnic when I started.
Yeah.
Before it became like a modern university. And they loved mature students, because mature students, they worked hard, they were there because they just wanted to get stuck in. And normally mature students had done something and maybe hadn't been successful, and they're going back, and that's the kind of last chance kind of thing. So they loved mature students.
Oh, so that was why. So you basically just gone, I hate this job. Uni's the only way to swap.
Yeah, that's when I went back to uni.
Did you? So you had no. You had no O levels.
I had a whole bunch of O levels.
They weren't very good.
No, my O levels were brilliant. I didn't have I failed all my A levels.
A levels, okay.
So I did like maths,
Sorry,
French,
the name's
Spanish.
confusing me there. Yeah.
So I've got like a Spanish A level. That's it.
Yeah.
So I failed all the rest.
Because you were either playing tennis or mucking about.
So when you went back to uni, then was it always the aim to stay on, or were you just going back to just
No, I didn't
do
have a clue.
something
I
else?
just know I didn't want to work in Royal Insurance. So I thought, what's my best bet to have half decent life? Well, I'll get a degree. So I went, and the degree I did was applied statistics and computing.
Why that
my
one?
degree.
Why that?
Because it was the only one. I knew I wanted to do maths. I was better at maths than anything else.
You said you got a Spanish A level?
Yeah, I know, but I was never going to be
Imagine Ian the translator.
a linguist.
Ian, the multicultural linguist.
I knew I was better at maths than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, comfortably. So the only maths-related degree they had was this thing called applied stats and computing. That was the only degree they had. I know they have maths now, and maths with finance and different stuff. And in the past they've had business maths, but at the time they had that one degree.
And this is 1991.
So I did that, 1991, yeah.
And then so you did your degree, and then did you do a master's or straight your PhD?
Straight PhD.
So did you get offered that, or did you apply? Did someone just go, oh, do you want to just do it?
No, well, I started my degree, and if I'm dead honest, I started, and I was like, whoa, what the hell have I done? Because I hadn't studied for years,
It was just hard, like,
and I didn't study at A
it
level,
was
so I haven't
a
studied
shock.
since my bloody GCSE, since my O levels.
Yeah.
So I start, everyone's like beavering away. I'm thinking, whoa, what the hell's that kid doing? I'd like a fish out of water. And we go into the lab, and everyone would be like, all zoom up the screen. I'd be like that. Yeah. Like one
Trying to
thing,
find
and I
your
was
letters.
like, wow, this is like the really worst decision I've ever made. Come to uni.
What a mistake, man.
I stuck it out.
Bell and Royal Insurance, excuse me.
So, after a bit, I thought, yeah, I'm actually getting into this a little bit. And those kids I thought were dead clever, they're actually not. And I kind of stuck it out a little bit.
It's like that imposter syndrome, isn't it?
And then by the end, it turns out there was actually only, there was about 30 odd, 40 of us in the group. And there was only me and this other like Keith who got firsts. Because back in the day, you didn't get a first. They were dead rare firsts.
Yeah.
So I ended up coming top of the course. And at the start, I was like, whoa, this is like bad idea. But
it shows if you stick with it, you get there, don't you?
yeah.
But as I say, I think that's a little bit because when I started my foundation, or not my foundation, sorry, when I joined the maths course, there was kids who were like, what you get in maths at A level? A star.
Oh, yeah.
And they might have got a couple of degrees that, a couple of A levels that weren't that good, but they were class at maths.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm never gonna get. I'm shit compared to
Yeah.
these. And I'm like, but over time, if you do
It's
the
a different
work,
beast, uni, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So then the PhD...
It was funny when I started, it was Liverpool Poly.
Yeah.
And then I remember halfway through, maybe towards the end of the first year or second year in 1992, our lecturer come in, he said, I'd just like to announce we're not Liverpool Polytechnic anymore, we're Liverpool John Moores University. And this kid sat next to me, this scouser sat next to me, went, get in, I'll go to uni.
Well, because it was it was a uni though, wasn't it?
It was a polytechnic.
So is that not
Yeah,
classed as a
It was
university?
no, class as a polytechnic.
So
we
what
went,
if you got a
"Get in,
degree?
I go to uni.
So if you got a degree from a polytech, what?
It's still a degree. It's just a
Not
you,
from
you
a
just
uni.
had different institutions you could go to. You go to poly, you could go to a uni.
So that's where like the snobbery comes from now. So you have the old school like unis, and you have like John Moores. That's an ex-poly. So everyone looks down at it and like, you're not uni. So
Like you can do A levels in a sixth form, or you can go to a FE college, or you can just do it. It's still a degree.
It's meant to be the same thing still, but it was sort of.
So then PhD.
I'm going to uni.
That's a shout that. So how did that
funny,
come about
isn't
then? You apply? Did you, or did someone kind of put it on your lap, or how did it work?
What, going to uni?
No, PhD.
Oh, PhD. I got to the final year, and my final year supervisor just said, he had some funding, said, would you consider staying on for a PhD? And I was like, get in, don't want to work anymore. No, it's great. When I went back, I was like a sponge, because I just, studying was like, wow, this is great, because I hadn't done it in school, because it was like, it wasn't my thing. And everything I learned, I was like, get in, I want more. So when he said we do a PhD, I was like, get in, yeah, can't wait. So I just did that. He had the funding.
Suppose as well,
So I
because
just fell into it, really.
because you said you hated Royal Insurance that much, probably in the back of your mind. I don't know if you taught this, but like the alternative wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to a 9 to 5 because I enjoyed academia. I enjoyed learning stuff. It was like, wow, this is great.
Belter. So like, because now you say like you fell into things like you wanted to uni, fell into PhD. Was staying on afterwards at the uni something that you again fell into, or was that kind of a directed effort?
Until I got to the final year of my degree, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I enjoyed academia and I enjoyed that learning environment. So I think then I probably thought, I don't want to get a job.
I want to stay kind of in this kind of way.
And then during my PhD, I kind of knew I wanted to be a lecturer. So
and then did you start teaching during the PhD to get like experience?
I did loads of like tutorial support and lab support, and I did bits of teaching. And funnily enough, some guy was on some sabbatical thing when I very first started. So I started my PhD in the September, and I taught a final year module like as soon as I started. It was like, whoa! Talking about like thrown in the
And had you done it before, or you just had to learn it?
I'd done the module before.
In your...
But I wasn't what I'd call an expert, like, you know.
Yeah, so, and then it was true on your toes.
I was like a week ahead of the students, like, you know.
And didn't you say it took you, is it 8 years to do your PhD?
Yeah, I had 3 years funding. Because I did loads of teaching in my 3 years, I was nowhere finished. And then by the time my funding finished, the lecturing job came up. And luckily, the guy who wrote the job spec was my director of studies. So kind of...
We're looking for someone doing a PhD in exactly.
Yeah, we are looking for someone called
Ian.
Malabar.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't far off that. Yeah, so I got the job, and then it took me another 5 years, like part-time, to finish it off.
So what, did you just keep then every year extending it? The deadline, like saying I'll do it. You have to keep applying for extensions.
But it's not the same as like it is now with PhDs. Was there a bit more like relaxation?
It was a bit more, relaxed back then. Yeah.
Whereas
now there's a lot of pressure to finish in your time periods and all that. It was a bit looser back then.
So then you got your job after your PhD. So you've been there. How long have you been there now? 20 years.
I got my job in '98, so 25 years.
So you've been there 25 years.
Yeah.
So this is a man with a lot of lecturing experience. So with being at a uni that long and like having all this experience with lecturing, like what are some good and bad moments over the like, you've been there long enough and you've been in John Moores and there's some characters who go through John Moores. You must have had some good, bad, funny moments over the years. Like
students are funny, like I mean, lots of our students are home students, so they're scousers.
Yeah.
The scousers are just hilarious people. They just are.
In general.
I always feel as well like John Moores seems to get more scousers than the Red Brick.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because it doesn't have the draw of it. Like I bet you'll find that like with like Sheffield Hallam.
Yeah.
You'll have lots of people from around Sheffield.
A lot of snobbery. Snobbery. People want to go to Red Bricks, want to go to Russell Group universities. That's just, it's all snob value. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's loads of non-Red Bricks, or what you call like modern civic universities like ours, that have fantastic degrees.
Yeah.
And the students get fantastic jobs. Just snob value, because people, career services in schools go, oh yeah, you want to go to a Red Brick?
And
colleges... Your piece of paper says I went to a Russell Group university.
And don't colleges get rated on the amount of kids that go to like Russell Groups and stuff like that? It's like a good metric to have.
Yeah,
because I remember when
I
went to Cronton College and so I was in like the science and maths, which was centre of excellence, like they were deemed a centre of excellence as sixth form. And basically, they were saying if you don't go to a Red Brick or a Russell Group,
forget it.
Yeah, there's no literally you're wasting your time.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, honestly,
terrible advice.
So you remember in the first episode when I was saying like I got my PhD, and like I'd failed what I thought I was going to get.
So they were telling you like don't go to politics.
So that's why I was so devastated, because to me in my head I was like,
yeah, they make out it's the end of the world.
I was like, well, I was like, there's no. So that's why I went home, because I left college. I was like, well, I fucked it now.
Yeah.
There's no point me doing it.
Well, it's mad. Like
it's bad. It's terrible.
That pressure's like to go to Russell Group in our school. It was just like if as long as you've got something made up.
Yeah.
No,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
And that
it's all perspective,
obviously it's perspective. Like I've told this story a couple of weeks ago. I was on holiday, got me results, and I'd fucked up everything. And John Moores was like the lifeline. I didn't get onto a maths degree in John Moores. There was just a counter offer that says you can't get on maths, but we offer a foundation. Do you want to get on it? I didn't know what a foundation was. We hadn't been told in school. I told you, I just belled her at the 6th, and I just went, it's either foundation or do another year. And she went, just do the foundation. Like she didn't want me coming back.
Just get out.
Just
leave.
This big lump of a kid, man, coming back for a year. But
so go on then. What's it?
But you said funny stories. Yeah, Scousers are dead funny. So we had this lad, and he was a real scally like this kid. He used to rock up in his like trackies and that. He didn't actually last long. He was only there a year. He was actually dead bright, but he was like
he just wasn't built for uni type thing.
Yeah, he actually left to play. He used to go on the cross-channel ferries to France to play fruit machines. He used to empty all the fruit machines, and he used to go up and down the M1 playing all the service station fruit machines. Empty. He was banned from every service station.
What did he just get in?
Every ferry.
Badge of honour.
That's what he
just
did.
get in his car and like I'm going out to go and on fruities.
Yeah, he just earned his living playing fruit machines. Yeah, he had links with the manufacturers, so he knew like the order of the rail spins and all this kind of stuff, so he just used to clean them all out. So he banned from ever had like wanted posters in like service stations and that. Anyway, so he left after a year. So we had this visiting professor over, this guy Carl Lyne back from America, really like well-renowned, well-respected fella, and we used to have this like ante-room. So we had our offices, and there was like a little room with seats and a fridge and a little water thing and all that, and we used to like sit round. And we'd have like lunch or little research meetings or little staff meetings, dead nice, dead good, this little communal area. And he was sat in there with my old mate Terence. I think you met.
Yeah, we know Terence.
Yeah.
And they're having a chat about research and different things. So this lad wanders in, fishing about the coursework. He wants some advice on his coursework. And the coursework was like, the particular question he's asking, Terence wanted him to get the idea that like the graph stretches. So Terence said to him, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? And he goes, I have a shite. So it's this professor, Carl Lyne, he sat there like that. His eyes are popping out of his head. So when the students got, he went, wow, our students don't talk to us like that. And we're sitting there thinking, yeah, that's standard.
What do you do when you're wanting to go, I have a stretch, I yawn.
Yeah. I'd have a big shite.
I have a shite.
But yeah, so then
could have been worse, I suppose.
Yeah, it could have been worse. So then on that, with your experience then in uni, so what would you say for a student starting uni now, in kind of the modern way universities are run and taught and that? What's one piece or a couple of pieces of advice that you'd say you'd give them and you'd go, what? Like, if you do this, you're putting yourself in good stead.
Yeah, like, for an 18-year-old starting...
And especially someone, like, for someone like us as well, who, like, we're you're a first-gen student, aren't you? First in your family to go.
Yeah, well, my brother went to Bath University with 3 U's before me, but not... because of academic prowess, because he was the best in the world at running. So, but then he quit after 6 months.
It's like, so people who've never been to uni don't really know, like, don't have this advice from someone else. What would you say from a man with 25 years experience?
That's a difficult question, actually.
I mean,
difficult. You can prep in terms of, look over your math methods, look over your linear algebra, but that's,
What's a good skill then, you think?
The biggest thing to take on board is get involved. You want to look back on your university years as going, you know what? That was brilliant. I'd do all that again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it's all about balance. So you need to, yes, study, but yes, enjoy yourself. but not too much of either. If all you do is study, and you have no life, you look back at uni and you'll think, you know what, I actually hated it.
Yeah.
Or equally, if you're partying every night and you don't do any studying, you get a crap degree, you'll think the same thing, but in
a different way, yeah.
But at the other end of
in a
that
different
spectrum.
way. You've got to study, but you've got to enjoy yourself. And university's not all about, well, in our case, learning maths or learning stats or learning data science, whatever it might be. It's growing up and it's developing as a human being, and it's learning to cook, and it's learning to mix, it's learning to socialise, it's making friends for life, like you guys have done. It's like, I mean, I started teaching you, donkeys years ago?
So
and we're still mates, so
2015,
that's kind of dead nice.
It is,
so you get lots of things from uni, you grow as a human being, and I think my best advice would be, when you start, make friends, get stuck in, attend. The one biggest predictor that we have, and we've looked at like backgrounds, A-level grades, all kinds of stuff, what's the biggest predictor of success? And the biggest predictor is attendance and engagement. Students that get stuck in and do what's asked of them and turn up, they're the ones that do well.
Is that consistent over the years?
Yeah,
as
100%, yeah, 100%.
That's so mad though. That's like the advice from someone who's done it for so long, because I think, especially from A-level, as you said then, it's drilled into you to become so obsessed with the grade to get into the best uni possible to end up with, and it's all about these measurements, when really someone who's been there 20 years would say, yeah, you know, you need to, you know, worry about what you're studying and that, but just make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, if you can say, I've met people, I've engaged, I've also got a good degree, that's better than someone who went for the high echelon degree and might have done amazing but didn't socialise, met no one, didn't, you know, engage in much. And I come from, obviously, TLRSL Academy, didn't have the best grades, but the one thing me and my mate said when we got there was, let's just make sure we get to the lectures. And Ian will tell you, you might have been one when someone was ill, but we were at every lecture, and even if we didn't get it, you were there that much, it's gonna sink in the end. Like,
if you're happy and you've got good mates and you're happy in your life, you're gonna study well.
Of course,
you bounce off each other, you go to the library together,
and you've got good little study groups, as you say. You'll go to the library, you'll have a little work on stuff together. That's like healthy.
It naturally builds, doesn't it? But like as you were saying, like John Moores, I know this is like an advert for John Moores, but we're just speaking from our own experience, like saying how it's about studying and play as well, like, and going out and having a laugh. So like, there's the all famous Anglesey trip. That was organised, like, to the maths field trip that we put on. So I look back now at my degree and my time doing a degree, and because of all these things, where because that started when our year won it, when we were in second year.
I can't remember about then. I think we've done about
what it is, it's a trip.
6 of them or something.
You get all the undergrads from the maths. We all go down to Anglesey. It's just 2 days. You do activities, you arse around, and more importantly, you just get levered for 2 days, and it's great. And all the students and lecturers interact, and everyone has a laugh. So then you come back and you have the bonds, you have your mates, and then
you've been doing kayaking in the afternoon, and then you're drinking beer and doing quizzes at 6 p.m.
Yeah, so it's a really good laugh. But like, I look back now and I think I'd have been worse going off to where I wanted to go. Like, I've excelled more because of, I look back so fondly on my degree and like what I got and the experience, and it's so good.
So you look at things like Anglesey, the field trip, and you think, okay, it's just a bit of a jolly for a couple of days, it's a bit of a laugh. But it's actually so much more.
Of course it is, yeah.
In the past, before we had things like the Maths Society and the field trip, you'd get to know your own little group of mates. But when you all go away and you take a bunch of like 40, 50 students away, you get to know the staff dead well. So when you come back and need a bit of help, you're dead comfortable knocking on the door. It's all well and good saying, I have an open door policy. But the students don't know you. They're not going to knock on the door. If you know them and you've had a beer with them, knock on the door and go, "Hi, Ian, you okay? I'll come in, I'll have a little chat." That's nice then, and you're comfortable. And you get to know students from the different years. So first years get to know second years, you get to know final years.
So
that's
you get
kind
help,
of dead nice.
You get help and advice as well on the way.
That's so true, because when the first year I went with my mate Bran, we were just like, we had a few other mates who we hung about with, but they weren't going. So it was just me and Bran. We knew Ian a few, but we didn't really know the course that well, you know. But we got to know them over the 2 days, and we got the lecturers you didn't speak to that much. You ended up having chats with them about their work or their life, and you did feel more comfortable going to see them, you know.
And I think, I'm not being funny, it's all free. You get all your travel, all your food, all your activities, everything for nothing. And out of maybe, we have roughly generally about 150 students at any time, we generally only 40 odd want to go. And I think, why would you not want to go on a free trip that's just like fun
such a
and
laugh.
like fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't
As I
get
say,
it.
the only
never understand
reason
it.
I missed it this year, because they invite the PhDs to go down as well, because
Yeah,
it's really
yeah.
good, especially from our speaking to like masters and PhD students, like undergrads, because then they ask us for advice, we speak to them, and then it's just funny getting involved because like we help in tutorials and stuff.
And it is mainly a laugh when you do activities and we have a beer, but we have alumni talks, like Bran come in and said what he's doing in his
that
job
was
now,
good.
and we've had like the masters guys tell them what the data science is about, PhDs say what they're currently doing, so it's kind of a little bit educational as well, and we have little fun maths talks and stuff. But yeah, it's mainly a laugh and it's a sociable thing. But
I heard you were doing a stand-up comedy routine in the last one.
I did do a stand-up comedy routine.
Yeah, really highbrow trip.
How did that go?
That was a mix of like mathematical jokes and normal jokes. Yeah. You best ask someone else how well it went.
They didn't
down
video
there.
it, did they? So what happened there? So were they supposed to video it and that's recorded?
Yeah, well, Jarmo dropped the bollock there nice at the end.
Jarmo,
You get that? Oh yeah, I forgot to do that, eh?
Fuck yeah, now.
Best bit of Anglesey was we got there on the morning. This lecturer, John Moores, Dr Ian Malabar, he's a really nice guy, but like he's just a funny character. He's from Ryan by ours. He's from Canny Farmers and he Cancel Farm, and he rents this van whenever he goes down. So they get like a coach for the students, and then the staff have their own little minivan to do runabouts and just have it for the few days, just make stuff easier. And me and Bran turns up at that Anglesey on the complex, and he has his head out the window and goes, "What's happening, boys?" And my mate Bran, "What's happening, Jam? Oh yeah. And he's like out the window reversing, going, yeah, just hold on a minute, Bran, I'm just trying to reverse here. He went, yeah, I'll speak to you in a minute. Yeah, hey Jam, yeah, fuck off, and just went right into the sides of the building. And Bran just like went, you just roast off a renter.
That's hilarious, that.
And then he just went, "Oh, you just give me a minute, will you?" So like I got all huffed and puffed.
It's the chaos, man, but it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so changing tack, this is a question you wanted to ask, wasn't it?
About So one thing I was interested in is like, you've got all this experience. Just wondering about like what advice would you give a young person, but more towards like now the staff at a university of your 20 years of teaching, and like obviously not naming names, whatever like that, but what are the characteristics?
Go on.
No. What are the characteristics? Like, no, I'll get to the question and then I'll give a bit of background, but what are the characteristics that make a good educator?
Or on the flip side,
Or bad,
make someone's absolutely
like, of all the people you've seen come through the door where you think, oh my god, they're great at teaching content, and then the other sorts of characters where you think their sorts of characteristics and personality it doesn't give to getting information across.
Some staff are good at different things, so some are good researchers, or some are good at one-to-one, some are good in project meetings.
Yeah.
Some people are better at like capturing an audience.
like projecting to
So for me,
audience.
I mean, you'd obviously say subject knowledge, but you assume every university lecturer's got the subject knowledge, so that kind of goes without saying. To me, what makes a good educator, lecturer, teacher, whatever you want to call them, is someone who can communicate.
Yeah.
Good communicators and people who are engaging, so the class think, you know what, this guy's interesting, I actually want to listen to him or her.
Yeah.
That's what makes you got to be able to communicate. Some people are quiet, or they're a bit shy, or they don't come across that well. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to engage an audience.
I think people think though, what I found at university and going back to sixth form and in school, is people think they can communicate, and it's not just about speaking.
Yeah.
It's mannerisms, it's movement,
yeah.
and I always felt like the best lecture. Like the classes, whether you were in school or universities, or the modules you hated, were the ones where you felt like the lecturer come in, got up some slides, read off them, sat at his desk and said, "Get on with," and you didn't feel like there was any exchange of anything. Yeah. It was just like it was almost like you were a function of their salary. Like they have to come to get paid, and unfortunately you're gonna have to sit through it. But the modules that you loved, like lecturers that come in and you did it, you'd never start off with like, say if we were looking at, I don't know, in first year, like regression models or something, you'd never start off with lecture 1, regression models. This is a lecture by Dr Ian. It was like, okay, does anyone know anything about regression?
Yeah. Does anyone know what a line is?
Yeah, does anyone know what a line? Okay, well, has anyone ever look, and you get like an example plot up, and you wouldn't talk about like the method behind it straight away. You give like a real world example,
intuition.
like, so we've got here every time someone scores a goal, it's, you know, it regresses again, whatever it was, and you give an example. But that, like, I always felt the best teachers, they'd start off with something like that. They never start off with, they sit in the seat and go, right. Because you just feel like the only reason you're there is so they can get through their lecture. You know what I mean?
A lot of it as well is applying context. You can put all the stuff on Canvas or whatever your learning environment is. But that's like the bones, that's like the skeleton. The lecture, you should be putting the flesh on and applying context and saying, well, why do we do this stuff? Why do we do it like this? Why don't we do it like this instead? How does that relate to that other stuff? So you kind of putting flesh on, and students should be sitting there going, oh, okay. You should hear the pennies dropping while you're talking. Yeah. If you're not doing a very good job.
Yeah, like if the entire like meal is on Canvas and the lectures are there, then there's no point going to the lecture. At the end of the day.
No, exactly. Yeah. If you're not getting any more from the lecture than you would have done just reading the stuff online, you haven't done your job properly.
And I think you see that in the attendance of modules. I think people who know, if you don't go to this lecture, you end up worse off because the lecturer gives more. It only takes a few weeks to suss out a lecturer, and then you think to yourself,
"Oh, I'm wasting my time."
As soon as you say, "There's no point going," I'll just get it online.
You've failed at your
Someone's doing something wrong.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Students like things like, it sounds stupid and you can't make people have one, but a sense of humour is useful.
No, yeah.
So in class, if you can have a bit of a laugh with you, I'm not saying it should be a bloody stand-up routine, but if you can have a little laugh now and again, students like that.
I remember the first time.
No, of course,
in a lecture once.
But it's more personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first time I thought Ian sounds, he's teaching. We're doing I think we're doing programming, and I was obviously mates with my mate Bran, and he was sick one day, and he went, "All right, Sam, where's Bran?" And we went, he's had bad girlfriend, won't let him out the house, Ian. Been, and he just went, "What? What's he done?" We went, he's been, not been a good boy. And like, we just like lied, he was just ill. And then Bran come and sat down the next day, and he went, "Hey Bran, I've heard you." And then Bran went, "What's you on about, lad? I've been sick." But straight away, you open up to someone, then, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit of comedy, lets you get through the lecture.
That's such a great shout, that, though. I agree with it. But kind of on that topic is on what makes a good and bad educator. What do you think, in just more generally now, like thinking about university and higher education, what do you think is a current thing that like could be changed to improve higher education, or what's currently hampering higher education, do you feel, in a way, or do you think it's fine?
Is there anything you look at in the current like system of how unis run where you think this just isn't
is it
half the workload, double the pay? That's what they need to do.
For lecturers? Do you think...
No, slightly tongue-in-cheek comment, but...
Do you think staff are underpaid?
Kind of true, yeah.
For what they do? It
used to be... Compared to when I started 20-odd years ago, my workload is at least double, probably 2 or 3 times what it was.
So do you think like unis are now seeing it more of like a cash cow, so you'll see a student as part of the balance sheet, so you get more people in?
Yeah, we used to have a lot of meetings.
I mean, I know we're asking very...
no, it's fine. Word? Yeah, and I don't want to get all political and the university sack me when I get back.
You got sacked for the corona.
As you know,
that was worth it.
As you know, there are strikes on over pay, and university lecturers have taken a,
been on constantly.
Real terms pay cut for like years, and the workloads are just getting more and more and more. So what's happening, sadly, is we're kind of hemorrhaging our best staff
because they're going to get more money elsewhere.
Well, I may as well go into industry, earn double the money, and like get looked after better, because it's. All the meetings we have had in the past were about teaching. How do you teach a specific concept? When you met together as staff, it'd be, I'm teaching this next week. That's interesting. When you've done that in the past, how have you done? You'd have lots of meetings that were kind of nice about academic issues.
Yeah.
Every meeting you have now is about bums on seats. How do you get more students in? How do you improve retention rates? It's just a business. It's just a business. It's just a big box exercise.
And that's definitely,
which I think's really sad.
Well, no, it is, of course, because that's definitely not a localised issue, or it can't be.
And University of Liverpool strikes all the time.
And more importantly, that takes away the whole point of higher education and university. The whole point is it's supposed to be like, it shouldn't be this churning thing where we just get people in
Shouldn't
and
be a
get people
cash
out.
cow. It's about
You used to have
creating-
time
Yeah.
to think. You'd have time to go to the library, do some research, read some journal papers, go to conferences. Not because you had to go, because you had to meet a deadline and produce a paper and do that. You go purely because it was interesting and you wanted to learn
I
something.
totally agree with that.
It doesn't happen now.
Because,
It's
like with our
more
masters,
pressure.
when we did the masters, I really wanted to take time because I think I realised then that education was probably, and academia was probably the way to go for me. So I realised then I wanted to do it, but with the amount of deadlines and stuff, you can't.
Do what?
You could like just go and. So say if I found something interesting,
I
couldn't just go and sit. Not even a conference. I couldn't just go. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to go sit in the library now for a couple of days and just learn it because I'd have a deadline every week.
Going back, in relating to that, but going back to what Ian said, there seems to be more pressure, less time, less pay.
Yeah.
But where did all these part-time contracts come from?
Don't get me wrong, it's true of everywhere. It's every business, every company. It's not just university.
I think it's
everywhere
more
want a
society.
bit more out of you. And if you produce that, they want a bit more. And if you can cope with that, bit more. And you just pile it on until you collapse. That's just life. That's not university.
Specifically
that's
in
everywhere.
universities, though, it does seem, as I was saying, they seem to be more based on what people are saying, full-time contracts 20 years ago. And now it seems like loads of staff are getting offered teach this module, and they're all part-time. And then once they've ran out, they're out. And that's at the University of Liverpool. A lot of the strikes are because people are on part-time wages, casualisation of academia. And it stops you being fully invested in it because your pay packet ends in March, your pay packet ends in September. And it just adds to this culture of like money rather than
It's like a
academia.
gig economy. It's like the gig economy, but now in academia. So like, I'll go and take this for 3 months, or I'll go do this lecture thing.
I'll do a show for 3 months at this venue, and then once it's ended.
So there's no sort of cemented, like you don't hear now of people just like staying somewhere and then just researching.
Everyone hops, everyone's hopping all
Some
the
students
time.
complain about the strikes, but they don't realise that long term, it's affecting students as much or more than the staff.
Just to keep the status quo.
Because, I mean, you remember Steve, Steve Webb, Ross, Pogo, all these people, they've all left. These were our best staff.
Yeah.
So when you're losing your best staff,
I remember enjoying
there's a big problem.
Of course. Because then.
So what you do is you keep not paying the staff properly and just upping the workload, upping it. What's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years? No one's going to want to be a university lecturer. No one's going to become a teacher. No one's going to go into academia because they're going to say, what do I want to do that for?
Well, I said this to someone the other day. I can't
so
remember.
the
I was having a
students will miss out
conversation
massively eventually.
Because it used to be that, say, it was about teaching, but it was to do with like high school. It was like being a head teacher was seen as this job where it was like, you're a head teacher in a community, right? It's a really high thing. Same with university lecturers, whereas now it's becoming a thing where people go, if they have the qualifications to get there, they go, well, I'm not going to do that. Fuck that off.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have the advantageous draw it used to have.
Yeah.
And as you say, that's true. And as you say, if you start underpaying people, the people who you're not going to get the cream of the crop because the cream of the crop goes elsewhere, and then the people who end up lecturing in 20 years' time are the people who will just accept that low wage. Maybe they're not striving for a lot because they're just, and then the people
so when you've been there 20 odd years like I have, you see all the changes. People who start now,
they don't know
any different.
So a student just thinks you're affecting my time.
I know when I started 25 years ago, the environment was just massively different, totally different.
Healthier in your eyes.
Yeah, way healthier. Yeah.
Because you say that now, so now in the current academic climate, you're going to get to a point where people are going to do it because they love it. They're the people who are going to stay, even though they could earn more. But how long can you do something that you love?
You can't rely on goodwill forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It runs out at some point.
It runs out, lads, yeah.
It does.
Yeah, well, yeah. Couldn't agree more, yeah.
So another kind of arm to this, what's affecting higher education at the minute, is what do you feel like COVID's impact was on higher, and is it still having an impact? Because we were finishing our masters off when COVID hit, and we saw an instant impact in how it was.
Yeah,
you worked all the way through it as a lecturer. Yeah. So what was it like?
COVID was huge because the whole lecture thing went. So that whole, what we've just discussed, what a lecture's good for, and yeah, we did them online, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Just talking to a load of like blank rectangles with people's names on.
Because no one will be able to turn the
camera on.
Someone's
sitting behind the computer downstairs having the tea and they've just left it on. Yeah.
There was one, should I say this? Probably shouldn't really. There was one student who had left his camera on in the bedroom, and he was in bed with his bird on the on Zoom. It was at the time. Jesus. But like that was hard work, lecturing to like just a screen. But like because you couldn't do the lecturing, and what we're particularly good at John Moores is like stuff like student support, having a good relationship with the students, all that side which you well know about. That all went. Yeah. Because you're doing everything remotely. So, what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought.
Student support remotely, lost it at John Moores. John Moores was good. Lectures, blank screens.
Yeah, I was going to say something specific.
Well, I'll try, maybe I'll re-jog it now, because we were talking about it before, where we got into like sort of what makes good education system, and the whole interaction is what makes it at John Moores and at every uni. I would imagine it's coming in, and I'm so glad that I did my degree when I did it, because although COVID now, you know, the worst of it is gone, the effects of online teaching, online working from home, working away from home, that will never go now. And it's okay. I think research staff are okay online, and I think people who are researchers and lecturers, I don't know whether they're being whether it's me calling them selfish, but obviously they love researching, so that's the main priority, and they see it as long as I come out from my lectures and teach it, I can leave again. But the whole like community aspect of a university was the doors open, and if you go into uni, if you're 10 o'clock lecture, you go to the library, do a few hours work, you have a lecture, you don't get it, there's a good chance that lecturer who's taught will still be sitting in their office at 5 o'clock. So you send them an email, are you in? Can I come and speak about question 2 on the tutorial?
One thing that takes a 10-minute conversation is an hour back and forth on emails.
But now it seems to be across every uni, people come in, they teach the lectures, and because they've got the freedom to work from home, which has its benefits, we know, they get off. But then that community aspect is gone.
You've lost that whole learning community. That's what you lost. Sorry, what I was going to say, I lost my train of thought. In COVID, we had to put tons and tons of stuff online. So we had to put absolutely everything on. So lots of stuff you'd cover in a lecture and you'd chat about, you had to put it on. You had to provide videos, mini videos for different concepts, video your lecture, every solution to every single thing, lock, stock and barrel was on there. And then, because we had to, because that was
there was no world we lived in.
And then once students came back, and we wanted it to be back to what we'd call normal, the students still expected all that. Well, where are the videos, where this, where that. So much gets put on canvas now that the students are at a point where they can probably fairly legitimately go, well, actually, you don't need to come in. It's all online. There's so much stuff on there that, okay, you don't get that interaction with your lecturer, but you actually do get most of it online. Which is sad, because you miss out on a lot of the stuff.
Then it allows that terrible thing you see where people losing the art of a lecture, losing the art of delivering a lecture, because it doesn't need to be done in that way.
You lose your learning environment, like you said. That's what you lose. You lose that relationship with the students. The students lose that relationship with each other, because now, in the past, students would come in, they'd spend the day in uni, so they'd come in, they'd do their lecture, between lectures, they'd be with their mates, they'd go for lunch, coffee, or they'd go to the library, go for a coffee, go to their next class, they'd spend the day there. Whereas now they go in, do the lecture, go home again. There's no feel of a learning community.
And
that's between the staff as well, you see, because a lot of staff work from home. You've lost that camaraderie, you've lost that feeling of a maths department.
I think that's...
You don't have it anymore.
It's not just John Moores, this is probably every uni. I've seen it at mine. The students don't feel the need to stay, as you say, because there is no professional help at the complex.
No.
Like, it's not
your
there.
Professional help's online.
Your professional help's our own.
And everyone knows that the facilities in uni for like webcam meetings are terrible.
So you're
going to go home and use your own rig.
And you got used to doing everything online. Everyone orders their food online. Everyone just does everything online now, because that's just what you did, and people get used to it.
And imagine if
you lose a lot.
If we did our masters online, we wouldn't know each other.
It's crazy, that, isn't it?
We wouldn't be doing this podcast.
This podcast wouldn't exist. There's probably a few people out there who think, fuck, I wish they did it.
We have a bunch of students, and I think it's really sad. You never see them. They never come in. They just do everything remotely. Basically, just do the degree remotely. What are they missing out on, like?
Well, they're missing out on
life.
That's what I mean. Like, they don't understand that. They're missing out on friends, connections, networking.
They won't look back on university like you two lads do when you go, remember uni? That was great, wasn't it?
They'll just say it was a part.
I'd do it all over again now. Best years of my life.
Yeah.
They won't see that. What, they just sit in the bedroom studying every day?
Yeah.
How sad's that?
You speak to people like that, where I remember I met a guy through doing athletics years ago, and he said he never spoke to anyone in his lectures.
That's mad.
He'd done a degree about 10 years ago, so he had to go in a lot. And he said, I just wanted to do it and get home. And he wasn't a mature student. He was 18.
Just wasn't for him.
He just didn't. And he was a friendly guy. In my eyes, he just wasn't taking the opportunity to network and meet people.
No, but like some people don't enjoy that, and that's fair enough. But then, what it does, even if you don't like it, it's still you still absorb, like through osmosis. There enough, you pick up little things, what people do, and all the rest of it. But then moving on to another question, so not so much how the current education system is at the minute and how COVID's affecting it at the minute and going forwards. This is a big one, and it's to do with how education, especially higher education, is going to change moving forwards with these AI tools that are becoming more and more...
Chat-GPT.
That one. Yeah, say it so we can put it in the...
Yeah, say it, boy!
So, get the keywords in.
Speak it.
So, like, how are these AI tools... I mean, me and Sam kind of have our own insight into this and what we think's going to happen, but like from someone who's now having to plan modules and lectures and oversee that, so how is this technology already changing university education?
Well, on one hand, they're amazing, but on the flip side, they're causing absolute havoc, causing absolute chaos.
Because testing them's like impossible.
you can get Chat-GPTs to do pretty much anything. Not just write essays or summarise meetings, or you can give it a complex expression and say integrate it, and it'll do it. It won't just do it; it'll give you step-by-step lines. It'll do complex maths. It'll do pretty much anything you want it to do. So we have to be very careful. Now we write assessments, and you don't know if it's a human doing it or a machine doing it. That's difficult. To keep tabs on. So what do? Do you go back to face-to-face exams? Well, in the past, donkeys years ago, you just did exams, that was it. You didn't even do coursework, you didn't do anything. You studied, and then you just did an exam. That was it. And then it was like, well, they're a bit archaic, this idea of exams. Is that really real life, sitting in an exam room? It's really just a memory test. So it's like, well, we've got these things called coursework, so we can assess things like problem solving, we can explore problems rather than just say, remember this, remember that, solve this equation. You can set more interesting and challenging tasks. That
test other skills rather than just the simple stuff.
But now, because AI will do it all, we're kind of like, whoa, where do we go now? So do we go back to saying, right, they're just all exams again? It's a hard one, it's a really hard one. But then you can argue, well, if the technology's so intelligent, in inverted commas, that it can do all this stuff, then surely there's equally intelligent stuff that'll be able to detect it, which I believe there is, isn't there? Chat-GPT 0 or something like that, that can tell whether a machine's written it or not.
So the idea is, the way it kind of works is it's all a token system, so all it's working on is, because I thought about this since we had the conversation,
we've done a podcast on it.
And like reading about it, and that is like, so all it does is predict the next word, that's all it's doing. So it works with tokens. So in theory, if you take a body of text, so say if you are like OpenAI, and you have the list of all the probabilities of like what word comes next, if all the words that follow each other are like the highest probability answer, so like the optimal answer, then surely that's a tool of being like, well, that they've probably cheated there.
Yeah, see, if every word they're using, it was the one that
the model would have
predicted, then there's likely they've cheated.
I mean, there's definitely things now that are getting built into things like, you obviously know what Turnitin is, that you put electronic submissions through, that are going to be able to detect whether it's been done properly or machine written.
But then how do you... So here's the question for the Turnitin type of software, isn't it? So say if I get Chat-GPT to write me 2 pages of work, and I condense that down to 2 paragraphs because it waffles a bit. How do you spot that?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult.
It's mad, isn't it?
Is the education system now looking at it the wrong way of trying to negate the use of Chat-GPT, when we know really now that this cat's out the bag, this software, this technology will be now forever. But you can't get Google back in the bag. You can't stop. Like when Google came about, you couldn't all of a sudden say, or when search engines did, you can't go online and look for anything. You got to look in a book. But in the end, the universities over time, they found ways to allow the use of internet, you know, in coursework. It wasn't all about going to the library. And I just feel, is the maybe, you know, I think there is people who want to integrate it, and there's obviously needs to be solutions to stop cheating in the meantime. But I think academic institutions, they need to allow it to be integrated and look at new forms of examination which allow the use of it. Because the kids who don't use Chat-GPT are not going to be, in my eyes, as intelligent as the kids who don't in the future. Because
the problem is with
or
this,
as educated non-intelligent.
Is my point on this, is that Chat-GPT is also wrong a lot of the time, but you don't know if it's wrong until you've done the work without it. So for me, and then you've got the point. So you've got that point is you can't really use Chat-GPT for proper applications and like these AI tools unless you've done like, it's to say for us, we've done lots of traditional learning. So when we ask it stuff, like we know, and obviously you more than us, you'll know, you look at it and go, right, that's wrong, that's right, because you've got the experience. Whereas students won't know that, so you're not learning as such, you're just getting the answer. But then the other side of it is
is it wrong that much though?
Well, then on top of that, you've got, even if you take that argument away, you've got the fact that this technology is going to be behind a paywall. So then the problem is, if you start implementing this, university costs are going to sky through the roof, which means university fees are going to go up because we know what universities are like.
They need to pay for it to get students access.
So if they want to incorporate it, they've got to interpret it, and then do you have the disparity between unis that pay and don't pay? And then if the onus is put on the students, you have difference between students who do and don't pay. So there's this whole fucking weird...
Well, already the other day I was speaking to someone...
aspect, didn't he, on what should be done and what shouldn't.
Who was talking about it, right? And I was like, how are you on it? And he was like, and I went, I'm always in a queue. And he went, oh, I've subscribed, I'm paying.
Yeah.
And like, I went, but that's all big issue, because then, as you say, there's the kids who can afford to pay and get the answers and do the best on the exams or the coursework, and there's the kids who can't afford, have to do it, either wait in the queue for ChatGPT to become free, or they don't use it and they end up maybe with a worse grade.
So my point of view, sorry Ian, if you were going to say something, my point of view is, I don't think it should be a tool used in traditional education, because ChatGPT only makes sense if you have the background information. So, for example, say if you go into say you work in a company and what you produce, can affect people's lives, right? So you are legally bound by what you say. Say you don't have the background information, so say your uni was built on just ChatGPT, right? And then your model. So, but then you have the degree in maths. So then you go into a company and you build a model on ChatGPT and it gets it wrong because it's AI and it gets shit wrong, right? Then you are legally at fault for what happened there because you didn't have the base knowledge to understand that it was wrong. Who's at fault?
Well, I see what you're saying, but hasn't that all? Students have been using Google for years, and they don't know if the information they're getting off Google's right.
They
still use it.
But then there's the difference.
They've still got a degree and been trained up.
If you learn maths, so with stats, there's a trace from Pythagoras all the way forwards in terms of published works. So there's this tree line, so you know what's happening.
Yeah, I get what you're
so if you don't understand the that's my take on it. Anyways, it's like without this.
No, I know what you're saying, but I don't feel because of students using ChatGPT that they're never going to learn traditional methods.
No, but I wouldn't learn it. Especially if it was a module I didn't like and I could just get free with ChatGPT.
I think the biggest issue is assessment. It's causing havoc with assessment.
Yeah, at the minute.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
I think the way to go with assessment is... I don't have a big issue with exams. People say, exams are all outdated. I think that idea of performing under pressure in a certain situation actually does mimic life. They say, oh no, they're not like real life. There are situations in life where you have to actually perform under pressure. And and lots of students come to me and go, oh, I need extra time in exams because they make me feel anxious and I struggle with depression. I think, that's what they're meant to be.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, some people suffer with their mental health and they need to be in different rooms and get extra time, or they have panic attack. I get that completely. They're a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, because there's the two bottles in there. There's the people who genuinely suffer and
we should accommodate those people who struggle. But
you're
for
saying
people who go,
feels a bit nervous.
This exam, it's making me on edge. Well, that's kind of what it's meant to do. So I have no issue with exams, but they shouldn't be a memory test. So I'm going more towards things like in-class assessments where they might be open book, or you can use software, but you've got to explore ideas, and they're more sort of exploratory tests, rather than saying, okay, in an hour, tell us what you know.
Yeah.
Remember this, remember that. That's bullshit, clearly.
Yeah.
But I think a combination of the two, which is time constraint, so you've got a certain time to do it in, so there's the pressure element, but it's also an open book, you can use resources thing, and you can assess problem solving skills rather than just what you can remember.
Yeah.
I think is useful, and Chat-GPT wouldn't come into it because you can't use it.
What's still in a classroom test, like a coursework in a classroom, a long exam, you're saying?
Yeah, rather than take it away and do it in your own time.
Yeah,
because that's
then you're opening
that's
the doors, then
wide
the
open to people doing whatever.
So you're
they
maybe
feel
saying like an exam that starts at 9 a.m. Maybe there's an interval in the middle, and it goes on till 3. You're allowed all the resources except ChatGPT, maybe until you figure out how do we integrate it.
So that is
correctly.
real life. You might have a deadline where you've got to meet, I don't know, a client deadline by a certain time.
By 3 p.m, 4 p.m, yeah.
But you've got resources. No one's going to go in the workplace. Oh no, you can't look that up. Oh no, you can't use that stuff, because that's like ridiculous. So you can look stuff up. You can use software. You can do whatever you like. You can write code. You can do whatever you like, and you can make the assessment appropriate. But it's not a memory test, and it's not getting AI to do it for you. So I think further down the line, I think that's the way to go.
That's kind of the way, yeah.
I did always think that though, like, you remember doing exams where like they give you 5 formulas and then they wouldn't give you another 2, or you got to remember them 2. But it wasn't you could derive them, but I don't get why they were giving us some.
So arbitrary, innit?
Yeah, I'm
that's
like, why you've randomly picked these 2 not to give me, but you've given me these ones. So now I've got to worry about either remembering it or figure out how to derive it. I thought if the exam's not about the method and it's more about the application, just fucking give me them. You know what I mean? I'll just apply them.
I agree. But yeah, so in terms of the questions on education yourself, I think we've come to an end there. So
stop panicking now, eh?
So you can relax. I don't think you've got yourself set
now.
I can relax.
But really big thank you from us too for once again like taking the time out, sitting with us. You're the first guest to come on.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you can claim that title. We'll print your plaque off and you can put it in your put it
Biggest
in your office.
achievement ever.
First guest on the Empty Space in Between podcast. So thank you from me and Sam for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thank you for
always.
teaching me.
And teaching me. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, people listening and watching at home, make sure to follow us, Spotify, rate us 5 stars because we deserve it. Subscribe to us, YouTube, all the links you'll be able to find on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're watching. Like, comment, let us know what are your thoughts on AI in education, or what makes a good or bad educator, or some tips.
Yeah.
And so before we actually finish, a couple more questions for you. One's a bit of a thinker, one's a bit more light-hearted. The first one you'll be able to watch on Spotify, listen on Spotify and watch on YouTube. For the last question, you'll have to tune over to Spotify because we won't be able to accommodate the YouTube viewers because
copyright, man.
They'll do us for copyright. So the first question, on which everyone can see, is of all the things we don't know, what would you like to know before you die?
Before you die.
So of all the things we either know we don't know, or we don't know, what would you like to know? One question you'd like answer. Anything. It could be stupid.
It could
serious,
be personal. It could
personal.
be did me dad ever love me? You know what I mean? It could be. It could be big or personal.
Whoa, that's a big fat question. That
of all the things you don't know,
requires thought.
What would you love an answer to before you go?
That's the idea.
Before you check out of this planet, man.
I suppose this is probably quite a boring one, but I would say I'm agnostic, bordering on atheist. So I would probably want categorical
some
evidence
clarity
that there was or wasn't a god. I think.
No, fair play.
Oh, right.
It's a great question.
Yeah, I think probably.
So so for everyone at YouTube, we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace out.